Habit number 1,
Yeah.
study your league rules,
right.
format, and
true.
scoring. If this
Yeah.
is your first time playing on that platform, you especially want to pay attention to this one. So at the end of the year, you don't say, I've never played on Yahoo before, even though I basically invented fantasy football.
I worked at ESPN for 15 years. I'm a company man.
That's
Everyone
fair.
knows this. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. So, yeah, I mean, just being honest, never played on a platform before. But I don't like to lie to my audience. You know what I mean? I'm not like you, Connor. Like, whatever.
No
but
shame.
here's what I will say. Yes, you should absolutely understand. Like, what I would recommend also is, by the way, is that if you have a commissioner, don't trust your commissioner, because that's what I did. Is I was like, Damien told me, like, oh, this is what the settings are, and I didn't actually. And I'll own this. I did not look at the settings. I just I trusted what was told to me.
Habit number 1, not practice.
Yeah. No, look. So but don't be like me in this particular case, in the instance from 2 years ago. What you want to do is figure out, in all seriousness, figure out exactly what your league format is. And it's not just as simple as like, oh, it's 12 teams and it's PPR. Like, understand every nuance of your league, right? For, again, like just simple nuance between PPR or half PPR, right? Last 2 years, 88% of the running backs that finished top 12 in points per game in PPR scoring had a target share of at least 10%. Like, you're not getting just a pure touchdown guy. Like, you want somebody that catches passes, PPR. That's sort of obvious. But, like, is it a one quarterback league or a super flex league? Do you have IR spots? Because if you have an IR spot, then, you can take a little bit more chances with highly productive but injury-prone players. Do you have a short bench? If you have a short bench, you want more solid players. So it's like every nuance. How many teams make the playoffs? If you're in a 14-team league and 8 teams make the playoffs, okay, I can take some more chances right? But if you're in a 14-team league and 4 teams make the chances, 4 teams make the playoffs, like it's all, every single thing in terms of constructing your roster, you have to know, like, when's the trade deadline? Are there keepers? Like, every single nuance you have to look into kind of the nook and cranny, right?
Yeah, and probably more pressing now than ever, because I feel like leagues now have become more convoluted, has a negative connotation, but there's just more random scoring quirks. Like, I was talking to a buddy who's in a league where interceptions only count for -1 and passing touchdowns are at like a ridiculous premium where it's like +8 or something.
It's a quarterback premium, basically, at that point.
So you just need to understand exactly what you are drafting for, and don't just blindly take Christian McCaffrey number 1 without understanding what you're actually drafting.
Yeah, like honestly, like ESPN's default is 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, right? Yahoo, like 3 wide receivers, right? And so, like, that makes a difference in terms of the depth of the position, like in terms of what's your normal starting lineup? Do you have flexes? Like, and by the way, is your IR spot only for people that are on the IR? Some leagues allow you to put like somebody that's out for COVID or somebody that's suspended for a non-football reason on the IR spot. Other leagues do not. And so again, like in a league where I could put a suspended player in an IR spot, you feel better about Rashee Rice.
Yep, Jordan Addison.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, so that's kind of that's sort of the thought here. Like, again, in a league with an IR spot, like you feel better about drafting a Jalen Warren, a DeAndre Hopkins,
any
right?
of these guys,
any of these guys, right?
Yeah.
That may start the season on injured, and so you're just like, okay, like we know that these guys are going to be productive when they play. But this gives you an extra roster spot, because what happens is, as soon as the draft is over, boom, you take DeAndre Hopkins, if he's still out, or Jalen Warren's a better example because he's definitely going to miss the first game of the season. Boom, you throw him on IR. Now you immediately have an extra roster spot between the draft and when the season starts.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a tangent, but also just understanding the specific nature of what the injury is and timelines and the likelihood of a suspension as well. All of that, I think people get so turned off by just looking at, Jordan Addison might be suspended. Well, have you actually looked at what's the actual likelihood? Because Rashee Rice, people just don't want to deal with Rashee Rice. Well, if you do want to deal with Rashee Rice, there's a pretty good chance he doesn't get suspended, and he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the best quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah,
possibly.
And back to your point about players that are dealing with, whether it's off-the-field issues or anything like that, those are NA spots. So be very aware of, if you're dealing with IR spots, you could take any guys that are actually hurt. An NA spot, you could take guys that have other issues as well. But there's a key difference there.
Right. The other big thing here is, I think this is something that doesn't get discussed nearly enough in fantasy football, is average draft position. So when you're in the draft room on a platform, Yahoo, ESPN, Sleeper, My Fantasy League, wherever you're playing, CBS, wherever, NFL, right, wherever you play, is that the average draft position infuses the draft room. And that that draft room, that ADP, the average draft position, massively influences where people get drafted. You're in that draft room, the clock's kicking down, it's a minute, and yeah, sometimes you might be like, hey, stop the draft. But what happens is if you're in a league of assholes like I am, no, we're going to move on.
Auto draft.
So exactly. So then you get stuck on auto draft. What happens is the clock's ticking down, and people just like, oh, the top of the guy. Yeah. So just give an example here. So we looked at the ADP of players going on ESPN and Yahoo, and just look at some of these massive differences. The fact that I can get Kyler Murray 3 rounds later on ESPN is massive, right? The fact that Raheem Mostert is going 4 to 5 rounds later on ESPN is really interesting, right? If you just sort of see that, right? Trying to find if there's somebody that's going later on Yahoo as we look there,
Calvin Ridley's a big one.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is a big one. Knowing that you could get Calvin Ridley 2.5 rounds later on Yahoo than ESPN. Again, as you sort of look at this, what you can do is you can sort of arbitrage this and realize Kyler Murray is a guy that I really like. My love-hate list comes out on Thursday. Kyler's going to be on the love list. I have him ranked higher than consensus out there. But again, I know that if I really like Kyler Murray this year, and I really do, it's going to be easier for me to get him on ESPN in the 9th round than it is in the 5th or 6th on Yahoo. Knowing that I could get Kyler Murray in the 8th or 9th round on ESPN changes how I approach a draft on ESPN versus if I want Kyler, I'm going to have to draft him earlier on Yahoo.
Yep. I also think it's relevant to the real top of the draft and choosing where you select, because a lot of leagues do that now as a draft to choose your selection. And I was talking about a buddy with this last night about how he wants to choose to pick 6th because he wants of the top 4 wide receivers. He just wants whoever is left. But on Yahoo and ESPN right now, Breece Hall and Bijan, they're going 4th and 5th. So if you select 6th, you're very likely going to get one of those top 4 wide receivers, whereas on Sleeper, Justin Jefferson is going 4th, on ESPN he's going 8th. So just understanding the top of the draft and where you select is important.
And to that end, mock draft like crazy. Just practice your settings. I will say, I'll put out a plug here, but it's legit. At Fantasy Life, we have this partnership with NBC, just got announced officially today, which is great. Fantasy Life Plus, when you buy Fantasy Life Plus, you also get the Roto-World Draft Guide. Awesome. But the other thing you get is you get access to the Fantasy Life Draft Champion. And in the Draft Champion, what you can do is you can literally sync your league and import all your settings and practice against everyone and also choose different kinds of, hey, I want to go 0 RB. I want to go hero RB. I want to punt tight end. I want to go QB late. Whatever it is you want to do, there's all these different draft strategies you can try, and you can assign them to everyone else because you're like, oh, you know what? I'm in a league with Connor, and I know Connor always likes the rookies, right? So, and I'm picking 6th, and he's picking 5th. So you know what? I'm gonna mock draft against somebody in the 5th that is rookie heavy. And so it's completely customizable to not only your league settings, but the drafters you're playing against. And you can use I'm going to draft on Yahoo. So you import Yahoo ADP. Here's the league rules that we're using. Here's the kind of people I'm going to be drafting against. I know I'm drafting from the 5th spot. And then you just practice, and practice makes perfect. It's an unbelievable tool. We spent a year building it, the Draft Champion on fantasylife.com. But anyway, in partnership with NBC Sports, NBCSports.com/fantasylife or fantasylife.com. Check it out.
Okay, you have a chance to win $1 million in the NBC sweepstakes on Yahoo Fantasy. Just download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/fantasymillion for additional details. What are you waiting for?
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.